Welcome to Turtle Talk. This is Morgan's story and the family's journey. I'm Craig, and
I'm Michelle. Welcome.
right. Um, just switching gears a little bit. What was the day to day? What was that routine like with you? Were you guys switching off daily, or were sitting with her a couple days at a time? Like what was all that like?
I think the first couple weeks we were both there 24/7 as much as we could be.
Yeah.
From 3 a.m. on June 17th until we really caught our breath and said we have other kids we got to take care of too. And it was summertime. They didn't have to be at school. They didn't have to be here and there. So we had people helping. There were families in the community that would pick them up and take them and do stuff. My in-laws had them on and off. One of us would try to get home at some point during the day to spend some time with them. And we had them down there quite a bit. We had them come down quite a bit and spend time with us, but it's so tough for your teenagers and your middle schoolers to spend time in a place like that with with the circumstances, and nobody able to give them a true answer as to why it's going the way it's going or what's going on, or and so yeah, the first, one of us would stay in her room all day as long as we could. Mom would be in there reading to her. I'd be in there singing lullabies to her, holding her hand, praying the rosary, the Hail Marys and the Our Fathers. But one of us was in there probably 16, 17, 18 of every 24 hours. And one of us was always close enough that if for some reason we startled awake at 3 a.m, we could run, look in her room and see her, And it was, the other kids didn't get the attention they should have got at that time. And it's probably natural, or, well, not natural. It's probably a normal reaction, a normal, one child is in severe crisis, so that's where the focus is, and the others were definitely in crisis too, because mom and dad are absent right now. Mom and dad, even when they're home, aren't home. And so, and it dawned on me a couple weeks ago. We were talking about our younger kids, and I came to the conclusion that we still don't know all the effects of what happened 7 years ago. The fallouts, it may seem like families put together and we're moving forward and we're striving to get ahead, but I think there's still fallout occurring. And that's from a schedule of Morgan needs us the most, and us giving as much as we could to Morgan, while not totally forgetting about the other kids, but definitely not, one of them, thank God none of them were playing baseball or softball, because we didn't have to go to a softball game. We didn't have to go to a baseball game. We didn't have to, Brendan was scheduled to go to Notre Dame football camp. And a few of his friends and my dad and offered to take him and everything. And at 18, he has to make a decision. If I go to football camp and my sister passes,
Right.
you know, and there were people that said do it, and we told him to go, and he had to make that decision. He made that decision, you know. So, well, me and Mom are 24/7 dealing with Morgan. Got an 18-year-old son who's struggling with a decision no kid should ever have to make.
Mm.
Do I go? Do I not go? Because my sister could pass away.
It's tough.
And that's, I mean, it was that way for the whole time we were at the trauma hospital. When we left ICU and went to the step-down ICU unit, it's still that, 3 months we were living that way. And every once in a while, I'd get out for an hour with a friend who'd come drag me out, or Michelle would get out with someone who'd drag her out, and they're just, it was tough. It was tough on the parent. It was tough on the kids. And I'm sure it was tough on Morgan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, it's rough. When you were there at night, did she react to like lullabies, to stories you would tell?
so, I sang an Irish lullaby called I See the Moon. And I think she would go to sleep to that. She would relax. I would hold her hand, kind of my thumb in her palm and her thumb in my palm, and and I would pull on a little, and it felt like she'd pull back a little, and I'd pull a little harder, and it felt like she'd pull back a little harder. And to me, that was reaction, but our great neurologist would say, oh, no, that's just reflex. And I don't think it was reflex. I think she was letting me know she was doing everything. She's in a bed. It's at a 30-degree angle. She's got a leg in traction. She's got more IV lines and monitors hooked up to her, and a PICC line in her forehead right here to relieve the pressure. And I still think she was fighting to let us know she was there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, we don't arm wrestle like that anymore. There's other games we play, and there's other annoying things she does to tell us that she's having fun and she loves us. But to see her relax when I sang that lullaby, and to be able to arm wrestle, and I don't know, I probably, I could have won every one of them, but I lost every one of them.
Yeah.
And I'd kid her, oh, you want to arm wrestle now? And so then she'd really start pulling as much as she could. And that was reaction.
Yeah.
Doctor said, oh, no, it's just, no. Instinct is flinching when something comes at you fast. Instinct is pulling hard right away. It wasn't that way.
Well,
And those were the things in the ICU that told me we had to fight just as hard as she was fighting, or harder.
Because you guys are dealing with the hospital and insurance and everybody against you,
Well,
against Morgan.
at one point in the trauma, in the ICU step down, the trauma, they decide that they have to have a caregivers meeting with us.
Okay.
And I knew everybody that had been in Morgan's room and provided care for her.
Yeah.
I knew the nurses by face, if not by name. I knew the trauma doctor. I knew the neuro doctor. And I knew everybody that had been in that room to help. And we go to this meeting, and there sit 26 different people with different names and jobs, and, hadn't met but two doctors, and recognized the nurse who was in charge of our wing, the nurse scheduler. But there's 26 people in that room. And this meeting's about how they've sold it as a caregiver meeting, which means we're going to discuss how we're moving forward with Morgan's treatment. But there's 26 people.
Yeah.
And they're introducing themselves, and we haven't seen 26 different people in the room talking about her care, and we're there from 6 a.m. in the morning till 10:30 at night. And we come in and go through the same elevator the doctors come and go through, because we're not supposed to interact with the other family at all,
Right.
or they're going to throw us out of the hospital still, And you want to talk about stress?
Yeah.
Why have you never been in my daughter's room? Why haven't you ever been in our daughter's room? And that's what you want to say to them. You're in charge of my daughter's care, but we've never seen you. We've never met you. You've never
Right.
showed up. You just sign off on the plan and don't care.
Right. Just like somebody that doesn't know Morgan telling you it's a reflex when you're getting pulled back on him.
Yep. It's again,
sick.
we're going to do enough. And we're going to do what the hospital requires of us.
Just enough.
And that's just enough to say we did our job, and we can't be sued for it,
Right.
or whatever. It's very, to me, the hospital systems are very disheartening at this point. It's becoming very apparent they believe in treat and street medicine.
Yeah.
So
Unfortunately. What happened as a result of the care meeting?
Well, so the care meeting happened towards the end of our stay at the trauma hospital. And the plan was for us all to meet, and they had the hospital lawyer there. But when they told us they're having this meeting, and we're like, okay, yeah, we'll be here. We called the lawyer who we'd retained at this point and said, you need to be at the hospital.
Yeah.
You need to be here. They're having a meeting on Monday. We have no choice. And I think their goal was to force us to put Morgan in a nursing home. Probably one affiliated with the hospital, so the hospital's still making money on her case, and But, you know, but, and we felt like we were going to get railroaded in this meeting. When we showed up and there were 26 people that were on the caregiving team that all had a different, we had the rehab doctors. Never saw the rehab doctors. Had the rehab doctors. After this meeting, rehab started showing up
Well,
so our lawyer gets there and he comes in and he's sitting in the room with us, and he's in his 70s, gray hair, wearing a corduroy jacket and sandals and jeans, and looks very much like Grandpa.
Okay.
Or a grandpa, I should say, not. And Morgan can call him Grandpa if she wants because he's a good man. But, so he looks like Grandpa, and in comes the neurosurgeon before it and starts yelling at Morgan. And I mean, yelling, screaming. Now, anybody ever screamed at Morgan like that when she was at her best, it would have made her tighten up and shrink away. And, and he's doing this trying to get a response for her. And I can only imagine the girl who wants to fight when I'm holding her hand is in her fright or flight mode more than ever in her life, because she's right now in a situation she never thought she'd be in.
Right.
And he's yelling at her, and he turns and looks and he says, well, I just had to check because I haven't seen her in a couple weeks before we have this meeting, and I'm thinking, really? That's the best you got for this?
It's so bad.
It's so we go to the meeting, we walk in and sit down, all three of us, and guy in a suit coat and tie and white shirt says, well, I'm a lawyer, my name's, gives us his name. And the wheels in my head start spinning because I recognize the name. And he goes on to say a few, or let everybody else introduce himself. It comes back to him, and he makes the point of telling us that I'm a big, intimidating guy. And I looked him square in the face and I said, I know I am. But you haven't seen me intimidate anybody yet, nor has your staff. Because if I want to scare somebody, they'll quit. They'll walk away. And I looked around the room and I said, none of these people have even showed up.
Right.
And so anyway, go around the room, do introductions. He says his piece about, well, you can be a bully and not even intend to. And I'm like, we'll get back to the bully in a minute here, sir. And then I introduce myself. Michelle introduces herself. And our lawyer introduced himself and finished with, and I'm Morgan's lawyer. And the whole tone of the meeting changed. Everybody, not the feeling of, you could see it on their face. Nobody was happy to be there. It was like they were all hyping themselves up to be angry at us and push us out. And the chill in the room changed when our lawyer introduced himself. And they knew that they weren't dealing with, they couldn't intimidate us at that point. And that's what this meeting was about, was intimidating us and making us feel like we didn't know what the right thing to do was as parents.
Right.
And so I dwelled on a few things while we're in there, and I'm listening to people give their piece, and we get to the neurosurgeon, and he speaks up and gives his piece, and Of course, our lawyer looks at him and says, well, is that it, though? Is that 100%? And the lawyer's like, well, no. Or the doctor's like, no, it's not 100%. It's still possible there could be a recovery, and she could come out of this, and it's possible. There's a chance. Anything's possible. And so everything, even the doctor who'd been telling us for weeks, months, that the best thing to do is put her in a nursing home, now says there's a chance because he doesn't want to be pigeonholed.
Right.
He doesn't want to set himself up to get in trouble, so he's got to become this. And then all of a sudden he got paged and had to go. And
Convenient.
I've been through all of these talks and what's going on. I've been thinking about this, and I realized that I knew the kid, the lawyer, from when I went to school in Yankton. And the only thing he was there to do was to bully us. The hospital lawyer who bullied me in high school was in that room so they could bully us into doing what they wanted and trying to intimidate us. After he makes statements about me being a big, scary, intimidating guy.
Right.
And I thought to myself, he's never changed. He became a lawyer to do this. You know? And at that point, there's a couple things. We got to get her out of the hospital. We got to get her out of this hospital into a rehab hospital or across town to the other hospital, but we're not staying at this hospital anymore.
Right.
We can't stay in. And so we'd been working on this for a while and getting pushback from the rehab hospitals saying, well, the hospital says this and the hospital says that, and we said we're getting. They didn't want to let Morgan go to a rehab facility of our choosing, an inpatient rehab facility of our choosing. They were dead set on anything but rehab. Back to the rehab doctor who introduced himself, or the therapy doctors that introduced themselves, and we're like, you know what? It'd be a good day for you to start sending physical therapy and occupational therapy to the room to help her and get her stretched. And, we haven't seen them.
Yeah, it'd never been.
No, but they had a rehab plan. They obviously had doctors assigned.
Right.
And so, yeah, frustrating, angry. And it cemented the drive to get her out of the trauma hospital into a rehab facility that was going to work with her and care for her and try to help her work back, not just wither away.
What did the one guy said? He'd just drool in a nursing home until she passed.
Yeah.
That was a phrase used early on.
Well,
No thanks. I like swimming with Morgan. I like Hazley swimming with Morgan.
Morgan is an amazing girl.
Yeah.
And she was a beautiful girl. Could have been a model. Some of her senior pictures are just amazing. And the joy you could see in her eyes and her smile and I got this. I got the world by the tail look she had. And it wasn't always that way, but she was something special.
Yeah.
We had a violin teacher that said he'd never had a violin student like her, so gifted and talented. She decides she wants to play an instrument and picks a saxophone. You want to talk about something that's intimidating? Look at a saxophone and all the buttons, and that's
I
intimidating.
can't do it.
But that was first instrument. I want to play the saxophone. She didn't care what the band teacher said. She didn't care what Broke Fingers Tommy had to say. She was going to play the saxophone. And she did. And she was very talented there, too. You know? And she loved a good underdog story. She fought for the underdogs. You know? And that's what we wanted. That's what she was, a beautiful young girl, and we wanted that beautiful young girl back. We wanted her. I wanted her close to 100%. Still would love to have her 100%. But I'd take her where I got her, and she's still beautiful, and she still inspires people. You know, she was running a track meet. In a track meet and running 100 yards dash or the 200, and she'd come around and she's 10 yards from the finish line and went down hard. And the school trainer that was there that day happened to be a gentleman who was also in my reserve unit. And he ran out, picked her up, and helped her off the field. And I went over and checked on her, and he says, you know, she's a pretty amazing young girl. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, I oftentimes get to watch her from the sidelines or the edge of the volleyball court or whatever event he got to watch her. And he just told me, he says, you know, there's something about her. She's just this beautiful young lady. And I looked at him and I said, and this was conversation between me and him after she had been taken care of and bandaged up. But he said, there's just something about your daughter that makes a person feel good, you know. And that's big stuff. We were on a trip, on a vacation to Omaha over Easter weekend, and we're in a hotel with a pool. And this plays into Hazley swimming with Morgan. But we're in the pool swimming, and this family came in with a daughter who was handicapped. I think she had MS maybe. And they were trying to get her in the pool and get her in the water. She didn't like the water. Morgan loved being a lifeguard, and a swim instructor, and she loved the pool. She loved the water. And so she started talking to the little girl from the pool, and next thing you know, she's got the little girl in the pool, and she's helping her do the doggy paddle, and Mom and Dad are just overjoyed because their daughter doesn't like the water, doesn't want to swim, and Morgan just got the underdog story.
Yeah.
Morgan was always going to support the underdog. And
She's special.
she's special. She had a fight in her then, and she's got a fight in her now that a lot of people will never understand.
Yeah. You just got to spend about 10 minutes with her and you see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of her.
Yeah. You should be.
And I give her a hard time still to this day. I don't know. I was walking through the house the other day and bumped something and bounced off a wall, and she looked at me and laughed, and I said, oh, reminds you of when you used to be able to do that, huh? When you'd go throw a wet wash rag at your brother and then run down the hallway and run into the wall. And she just giggled and her face lit up, and,
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. She's come a long way.
yes,
You all have. Like,
we've I wouldn't say we've come a long way. We've gone a long
gone a
ways.
long way. Yeah.
We've spent more time on the road than most families would for medical issues and therapies, and from every day back and forth to the trauma hospital, swapping out every week at the rehab hospital, to weekly trips to Mayo for 2 days at a time, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year, to special trips to Utah and Boston and Houston and San Antonio to interview doctors and rehab facilities. And so, yeah.
What a journey. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Do you have anything else you want to throw on there, or you tapped out?
I'm tapped out at the moment. I think there's probably more episodes down the road as the story reveals itself,
Right.
opens up, and it's there's a few things in life that people say it could never happen to them. Well, it's going to happen sooner or later. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
We shouldn't say never, but I'm glad I've had the life experiences leading up to that night that I had, because in some ways it prepped me for it. In some ways it's been a blessing. I'm a slow reader. Takes me forever to read something, but once I've read it and I understand it, I don't let it go. And so the TBI research we've done, just the different therapies, the different things that we've read into, and falling back on things like being a biology teacher and an anatomy teacher that make it easier to understand the complexity. And the one of the things I've come to realize is that the brain, the nervous system, very complex. But the simple science that you learn in high school might be enough to help you navigate the hard truths and the hard realities. And it's kind of what this journey has been about, is how well can you learn something, and how much of it do you trust and don't trust? If we'd listened to a neurologist who said, put her in a hospital, or put her in a nursing home, let her drool until she passes, I would imagine it would have happened in the first 5 years. And I would imagine that little girl would have died of a broken heart, not a car injury, not a trauma injury, would have been a broken heart. But she didn't go that way. It wasn't their decision.
No, thank God.
Okay, and that's kind of this decision that it has been. It was God's decision. It's been the intuition of a mother, the acceptance of a father, and the battle of a family to make those decisions. to understand there's more to life than just having healthy, whole beings at home.
Cool. Thank you, Tom.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys, so keep the comments and the questions coming for us.
Yes. Love the questions. Please subscribe. Go to www.givemorgan.org or visit me at my real estate website, realtorcraigbertrand.com. And we always want your questions, comments, like, and share wherever you listen or watch.
Thank you.
Thank you.